Hey fellow YouTubers and VW enthusiasts, this is Stan the Man coming to you with the Bad Raz channel. This is my second video starting my new content, and it's going to be the history, my journey on how I built Bad Raz. Before I get started, just to pass through all the thumbs up, comment, subscribe. That's being said already a lot of videos, so I'm going to skip that portion. But what I like to do is give a shout out to Bill T. He lives in Vegas with Let's Talk Doug, his podcast, and thank him for doing the interview with me about Bad Raz. So this is going to be even more in depth that you see in the magazines and read, and in what you hear on the podcast. I'm going to start from the very beginning. I graduated in high school in '83, and my best friend Darren Galviso just lives around the corner from here. Is my best friend, and he was into VWs. His dad worked for the Salinas Volkswagen dealership. His older brother was actually the first one to start the Cowbug in Salinas, California. So after we graduated, he got his bug done, and we started going to the car shows. He had a small little club. It was just basically get together, nothing official like they do now, where they have all these get-togethers to where they do these cruises and stuff. We got together, hung out Friday and Saturday night, went cruising when cruising was legal back in the day. But we just hung out. We went through car shows, so they took me to one of my first one was in '84, how they have Bugaramas on the holidays, Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend. So he took me to the Memorial Day weekend, and I had fun just looking at Volkswagens, and I started getting a little hooked on that. Again, it's just I didn't have a VW. I was in the club, but I didn't have a VW. The other guys had VWs, and here's a nice picture of our little club that we had back in the day. We had a variety of Volkswagens, and that's my best friend's Bug, the brown one. It was painted Porsche browns with center lines and 7076 engine. Another VW was purple with a black pearl. We had a Volkswagen truck, a couple Garmin Ghias, buses. So we had a variety. And there's Mark Johnson, a classmate I grew up just with Darren, just from elementary, in his red Ghia. And then that's Nick Lasada with Ray Anderson. Nick's is Darren Galviso's cousin. And then this is actually the '84 California Caravan to Sacramento Bugorama, and we caught it in Modesto, where we hooked up and we traveled in '99. And here's a picture of Eddie Plaza's blue Bug. Another picture of friends in the red Ghia, convertible Ghia, and the blue and white bus. And then Mark Laquata in his Volkswagen truck. And then we kind of parked over to the side, checking to see if everybody's okay with the breakdown in their Volkswagens. But that was fun going to those car shows, and that's how I got started. I still haven't decided what I was going to get in a Volkswagen, and him just taking me to several different car shows, you know, I kept on thinking of what I was going to get, till one car show that he went to down south, and I didn't go with him, but he took several pictures, and this is one of the pictures that I actually ask him if I can have. And I go, hey, that's a nice bug right there. I mean, pink. I wasn't really into pink, but it was a nice look. The way it was lowered, it had center lines, rag top. And I asked him, hey, what was that window? How come it's a smaller window? And he told me it's an early 50s year. So I asked him specifically to get more history on that. He says it was around the mid 50s. So I did my research, and that right there was an European model, because you can see the semaphores on there along with the oval window and the rag top. But I believe that when I found out it was a 56. So I found out that the ovals were 54 through 57. So I was looking for those particular years, and that's when I made my decision, after looking at this photo, that I was going to get an oval window, not knowing what year though, but I kept on looking. But that's the Volkswagen that inspired me to get what type. So we went to more and more shows. We went to the Sears Point Raceway, checked out some of the for sale ovals that were there. They're kind of expensive. Back then it wasn't that much, but with my finances, at the time I was working for Lucky's grocery store, and I was getting pretty good income. But some of those Volkswagens I couldn't afford, and they're already stock and clean, but I was going to convert it into a cowbug. So back then we didn't have social media, so we had to look at news clippings, the magazines where they had their for sale ads, word of mouth, again, car shows. So couldn't find it there. I went to the second Bugorama, couldn't find anything there. And then we were just basically just trying to look for an oval, and I kept on doing my research. And when it came to 85, I looked at a couple in the newspaper clippings, couldn't find any. And then coming down to the summer, I looked at a couple more, couldn't find anything. And just one day in the summer of 85, I'd seen this news clipping in a 57 oval in San Francisco, California. So I went with two of my friends, Ray Anderson and Eddie Plaza, and we're going to drive up there. But my friend Ray Anderson suggested, hey, let's go to Hayward. I got to talk to my cousin, and after that we'll go to the Buggy House, which is a VW shop in Hayward, California, and we'll stop by to see if anybody else would know, or know if anybody would have an oval window. So we drove up there, went to his cousin's, blah blah blah. Then we went to the Buggy House, and we walked up into the store, up at the front counter, and first thing I asked was, anybody here works here, know anybody that has oval window for sale? And then one of the employees walked up, and I'll never forget his name, it's just embedded in my brain, Mark Preisendorf. And he came up, he says, yeah, I have an oval window. And I go, hey, what year is it? He goes, 55. I go, hey, is it possible to check it out? He goes, so he gave us his address. Me and the guys, we drove over there, checked it out. It was in front of his yard, off to the side of the house. Pretty good condition. Everything was there. It was like a tan color looking, and I'll show you pictures of it. And we're taking a look at it. I look for the main areas, you know, the battery area, see if there's any major rust, the front and rear clips, if there was any damage or needed replaced. The 36 horsepower originally was in there, was still in there, the transmission. They had the stock door panels, and the seats were still in there, the W deck lid, the hood. And so after taking a really close look at it, nothing majorly wrong, just surface rust, nothing where the rust was eating into the metal. So we went back to the shop and talked to Mark and asked him, you know, how much are you looking for that? He goes, well, you know, 800. if you want it. I go, well, I negotiate with him. I go, well, I see that you have the door panels and the seats, stock seats in there, and I didn't really want them. So I go, if you take those out, how much you sell them? So he dropped it $100 less and $700. So I go, hey, I'll go for that. So after we discussed that, I told him, okay, let me come back with the money, and then you can get the paperwork situated, and I'll be back within the next day or two. And so came home, and then I had to just to gather up the money, and called him up, told him what day I was going to be there. I had to borrow my father's car, and we got a tow hitch, and we just drove up there, picked it up. We did all the paperwork and everything, but that's how I came to finding a oval window, and not looking for a specific year, but it just happened to be a 55. So that's my story on how I came to get a 55 Volkswagen, and brought it here, parked it inside the garage. Got here kind of late in the evening, so the next morning I just woke up and then started figuring out what I had to do. And here are some pictures of the Volkswagen before. So I know you guys are thinking, yeah, it's a piece of shit, which it was, but that's how most Volkswagens are when you find something. Yeah, the inside really smelled bad. Yeah, pretty much everything was there, but I just had to take out the engine, getting ready to take out the transmission. And after taking it apart, you can see the floor pan. But that's a story of how I became a VW enthusiast, how I got started, when I got started, and the next video will be more getting into the name, when I put the got the personalized license plate, how I chose the color, and etc. And I'll do that on the next video. But this is basically how I got started, and I'm going to leave it as this for the second video. But again, what I would like to do is just ask you, hey, what do you guys think of it? And I'll give you my thoughts on how I prepared and making the decision what route to make this, how I was going to build this, and that'll be on the next video. So I hope you enjoyed my content, how I got started with the Volkswagen, the friends that influenced me, and my family that encouraged me and hung in there with me through those times of getting the Volkswagen ready. But those will be on the next future videos. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next video.